Imagine this. The Queen herself quietly paying millions to cover up her son's darkest scandals. Prince Andrew, Sarah Ferguson, Buckingham Palace, secrets so shocking they could shake the entire monarchy. Sarah Ferguson, Andrew's ex-wife, held the keys to it all, millions of dollars, private palace tours, hush deals, and emails no one was supposed to see. And now, she's speaking out. What really happened behind the palace walls? Who profited, who lied, and who's about to fall next? Stick around, because the truth is far bigger than anyone expected. "Did you take the money?" someone asked. "At one point, there was $40,000 right in front of you. Did you take it?" "Absolutely," she admitted. "Yes. I got it in the car, but I returned it immediately." Then there's this wild story about the Queen. Imagine someone telling the Queen that Jean Maxwell was sitting on her lawn. She probably wouldn't have been thrilled. That was the first time she met the Queen. After that, though, it became routine. She was allowed to walk straight through security and into the palace, heading right for Prince Andrew's private entrance. No one stopped her, and now, Sarah Ferguson might have gone too far this time. She's spilling secrets the royal family has desperately tried to hide. According to her, Queen Elizabeth personally paid her to keep Prince Andrew's scandals under wraps. Everything from phone calls to emails, even receipts. There's a paper trail showing millions allegedly given to Ferguson to protect Andrew. With Prince Andrew disgraced and Fergie kicked out of the royal residence, she has nothing left to lose. She's no longer protecting them. But the big question is she telling the truth, or is this just a move for money? Some say it's not right that she's speaking out, but others argue she needs the money. It's as simple as that. Prince Andrew has become the royal family's black sheep, especially after his ties to Jeffrey Epstein came to light. In all this chaos, Sarah Ferguson's name got dragged into the spotlight too. She's been taking the hits, because honestly, what else could she do? What finally pushed Sarah Ferguson over the edge was an explosive interview with a well-known royal biographer that sent shockwaves through the public and the media alike. The biographer revealed details about Prince Andrew that many had only whispered about but never seen laid out so plainly. Among the most astonishing claims was that Andrew had once collected a staggering $1.4 million from a group of crypto investors. At first glance, this might sound like a straightforward business deal, the kind that happens in finance circles all the time. But the reality of what access actually meant in this case was far from ordinary, or even legal, depending on who you ask. Instead of simply gaining entry to a firm or attending a private briefing, these investors were granted something much more unusual: a private, behind-the-scenes tour of Buckingham Palace itself. And here's the part that makes most people pause. The Queen was still living there. This was no casual, open house event or organized public tour. It was a highly private, exclusive glimpse into one of the most secure royal residences in the world. Imagine letting complete strangers wander through the halls, viewing private rooms, corridors, and spaces that had been off-limits for centuries. For those who know how closely security is managed at royal palaces, this alone raises eyebrows. But the story doesn't stop there. It gets far stranger once you factor in Sarah Ferguson's involvement. Reports indicate that Fergie, Andrew's former wife, was actively participating in this arrangement at the same time. Far from being a passive observer, she was reportedly the key intermediary, the person who orchestrated the logistics and facilitated the tour for these investors. She essentially became the face and executor of the deal. What makes this situation even more mind-boggling is where the money went. All $1.4 million ended up in her hands. That's right, every single dollar. Prince Andrew, the supposed host of the palace tour and the royal figure involved, apparently didn't receive a penny. This revelation naturally sparked a storm of questions and public outrage. How could Prince Andrew, a senior member of the royal family, feel comfortable inviting a group of dubious, potentially suspicious individuals into the heart of the monarchy while the Queen herself was residing there? Surely there were strict protocols and security measures to consider. Why would he risk the sanctity and safety of Buckingham Palace for the sake of a financial deal? Even more perplexing, why did all of the proceeds go to Fergie rather than the prince himself? It seemed counterintuitive that Andrew, who was the public face of the palace tour, would personally forego such a massive sum while his ex-wife collected the entire amount. Public opinion began to swirl with speculation. Many wondered whether this arrangement was part of a larger pattern of behavior. Did Andrew regularly use his royal position and access to the monarchy for personal financial gain, or was this an isolated incident? And for Sarah Ferguson, the scrutiny was just as intense. On one hand, she appeared to be benefiting from the royal connection and leveraging it for personal profit. On the other, Some saw her as being caught up in circumstances beyond her full control, as though she were the intermediary in a scheme orchestrated by Andrew. Experts and royal commentators began dissecting the implications of the event. Security analysts pointed out that Buckingham Palace is one of the most secure residences in the world, equipped with extensive staff and protocols designed to prevent unauthorized access. For a private tour to be arranged for outsiders, while the Queen was in residence, required coordination at multiple levels. This raised serious questions about who authorized the access and what internal checks failed. It also put a spotlight on the unusual influence Fergie seemed to wield behind the scenes. Moreover, the financial side of the deal added a whole new layer of controversy. $1.4 million is not a trivial amount. It represents a life-changing sum for most people. The fact that this money went directly to Sarah Ferguson, for what many perceived as doing nothing more than hosting strangers in a palace, intensified criticism. Social media erupted with debates, journalists penned countless op-eds, and tabloids featured the story prominently. Public perception began to paint Fergie as both opportunistic and cunning, someone who capitalized on her former marriage and insider knowledge of the royal family to enrich herself. Yet, there was a counter-narrative to consider. Some defended Ferguson, suggesting she was simply navigating a complex and unusual situation, perhaps under implicit pressure from Andrew or others within the royal household. After all, coordinating such a high-profile tour while balancing security, royal protocol, and investor demands would have been no small task. Was she acting purely out of self-interest, or was she maneuvering through a scenario that left her with little choice but to comply? Regardless of interpretation, the combination of Buckingham Palace access, the Queen's presence, and the million-dollar payout created a perfect storm of scandal. It's the kind of story that feeds both the public's fascination with the royal family and the media's appetite for controversy. People couldn't help but ask, what other deals had Andrew orchestrated? How often had Fergie been involved in situations where money and royal influence intersected in ethically questionable ways? And perhaps most importantly, what does this reveal about the inner workings of the monarchy, where discretion, privilege, and secrecy often overshadow transparency? Ultimately, the story highlighted a rare moment where the private lives of royals, their financial dealings, and their personal relationships collided in a very public way. Sarah Ferguson's role in the saga became central, not just as Andrew's ex-wife but as a pivotal figure who held the keys to a remarkable story of wealth, access, and power. And for the public, it was a stark reminder that the royal family, despite centuries of tradition and ceremony, operates within a world full of human flaws, ambition, and, occasionally, scandalous missteps. When this news came out, the story painted Sarah as a cash-hungry opportunist, while Andrew looked like the innocent victim stuck in the middle. That narrative infuriated her. She couldn't stand seeing the story spin this way when she knew the truth. Andrew had far darker secrets, and the Queen had been enabling him for years by quietly paying people to keep him out of trouble. To really understand what Sarah revealed, you have to look at Andrew's relationship with Queen Elizabeth, because that's where all the trouble begins. Andrew had always been the Queen's favorite. Even as a child, she clearly doted on him, often clashing with Prince Philip over how he should be disciplined. No wonder he grew up a bit of a mama's boy over time. Her favoritism evolved from letting him have whatever he wanted to actively protecting him, even when scandals and serious allegations emerged. When Andrew's ties to Jeffrey Epstein first came to light in 2015, the public expected the Queen to act fast, stripping him of his titles. But she didn't. Despite mounting pressure, she stood by him, quietly shielding him from the consequences. Instead of taking decisive action against Prince Andrew, the Queen allowed him to retain his prestigious titles as the Duke of York and his position as a Council of State, at least for a while, until the pressure of a U.S. court ruling finally forced her hand. Many observers and royal insiders were stunned. Reports indicate that senior members of the royal household had repeatedly urged Elizabeth to suspend Andrew from all royal duties once the allegations against him first emerged. These weren't casual suggestions, they were formal recommendations coming from the very people responsible for the proper functioning and reputation of the monarchy. 3 top courtiers even went so far as to write directly to the Queen, outlining their concerns and advising that Andrew be removed from royal duties pending a full and thorough inquiry. But the response from Elizabeth, according to multiple sources, was nothing short of dismissive. She reportedly brushed aside the letters entirely, refusing to act on the advice of her own trusted advisors. In fact, the courtiers who had urged her to intervene were allegedly sidelined, effectively blackballed for challenging her decision. The message was unmistakable: Andrew would remain protected, and anyone questioning that protection would face consequences. The situation became even more complicated when the Queen's other children, Princes William and Charles, entered the picture. Both were reportedly deeply concerned about the impact Andrew's continued public presence and unrestrained behavior could have on the monarchy's reputation. They pleaded with their mother to take action, to suspend him from royal duties and make a statement that the family would not tolerate misconduct. William, in particular, was said to have reached a breaking point. In what insiders describe as an ultimatum, he told the Queen, "It's him or me," demanding that she choose between protecting Andrew and protecting the integrity of the family. Despite the gravity of this confrontation, the Queen reportedly gave no response, leaving both William and Charles frustrated and powerless to intervene. Instead of stepping back and allowing the situation to be addressed with transparency and accountability, Elizabeth doubled down. She continued to involve Andrew in high-profile royal engagements, signaling clearly that he remained a favored son and a trusted member of the family's inner circle. This included public appearances at significant events, such as a major memorial service for Prince Philip, where Andrew escorted the Queen herself. For observers and critics, this was a powerful statement. By keeping Andrew visibly involved, Elizabeth appeared to side openly with her son, irrespective of the growing public outrage and the serious nature of the allegations against him. The implications of the Queen's decision were far-reaching. Her choice to protect Andrew over responding to calls for justice sent a strong signal to the public. Royal privilege and familial loyalty were prioritized over accountability and fairness. Critics argued that this pattern of behavior not only endangered the monarchy's credibility but also undermined the voices of the victims, who were already struggling to be heard in the face of immense power and influence. By appearing to shield Andrew from the consequences of his alleged actions, the Queen inadvertently intensified scrutiny of the royal family and fueled a narrative that the monarchy protected its own at all costs. It also became increasingly clear that Elizabeth's favoritism extended beyond mere public appearances. Sources indicate that she actively resisted efforts to distance Andrew from sensitive or high-profile responsibilities, despite repeated warnings about the reputational risk he posed. The Queen's steadfast support seemed to prioritize her son's personal welfare and dignity over any consideration of public accountability or ethical responsibility. In doing so, she placed herself at odds not only with her advisors but also with a wider public that expected members of the royal family to uphold certain standards of conduct. Moreover, the Queen's decision to keep Andrew close and involved had a ripple effect across the family. Other members were forced to navigate the delicate balance of loyalty and integrity, often feeling compelled to remain silent or acquiesce to maintain unity. The tension within the royal household reportedly grew as the scandal unfolded, with family dynamics strained by conflicting loyalties, ethical concerns, and the public's intense scrutiny. For many observers, the situation highlighted the complex interplay between personal relationships, institutional responsibility, and the expectations placed on the monarchy as a symbol of national morality and stability. Ultimately, the Queen's choices in this situation were a clear reflection of her prioritization of familial loyalty over immediate accountability. By allowing Andrew to retain his titles, continue participating in royal events, and remain shielded from public and institutional scrutiny, she made a statement that transcended words. In the royal hierarchy, her children's welfare, particularly Andrew's, was paramount, even when weighed against scandal, public outrage, and the moral considerations surrounding the allegations against him. In the eyes of many, this decision further complicated the public's perception of the monarchy. It raised uncomfortable questions about transparency, privilege, and the ability of even the highest-ranking royals to act in the best interests of justice and public trust. It also fueled speculation about how the royal family handles internal crises and the lengths to which it will go to protect its own, even when facing allegations of serious misconduct. For those watching from the outside, it became apparent that the Queen had chosen a side, and it was not the side of Epstein's victims, nor was it entirely aligned with the interests of her other children or the public at large. Instead, it was a side rooted in loyalty to a son she had long favored, a son whose actions, no matter how controversial or damaging, would be shielded by the protective umbrella of maternal devotion and institutional authority. And that decision, critics argue, would reverberate for years, shaping both Andrew's legacy and the public's trust in the monarchy itself. The most striking move came when the Queen reportedly funded Andrew's $12 million settlement with Virginia Giuffre, one of his alleged victims. Everything pointed to the same conclusion. She was willing to spend vast sums to bury anything embarrassing or incriminating about her son. And that's where Sarah Ferguson came in. As Andrew's ex-wife and mother of his children, she had intimate knowledge of his questionable behavior, and she was perfectly positioned to receive hush money on his behalf. When Ferguson finally got the chance to speak, she didn't hold back. And as Andrew's Epstein scandal resurfaced, she began receiving offers for a tell-all. Sources say she's being offered as much as $13 million to share everything she knows, from Andrew's life as a husband and father to his troubling friendship with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. At this point, Ferguson has nothing left to lose, and according to insiders, she's ready to reveal it all. Insiders say Sarah Ferguson is already deep in negotiations with multiple media outlets, ready to lay it all out. She's reportedly providing every piece of evidence: receipts, invoices, timelines, emails, texts, everything. Considering how the royal family has worked for decades to portray Queen Elizabeth as a strict, principled mother making tough decisions for her wayward son, Fudge's revelations could completely shatter that image. Unsurprisingly, Andrew isn't taking this lying down. He's trying to block Ferguson's interviews at every turn, painting her as the villain and an unreliable witness. This isn't new behavior. Back in 2011, it was revealed that Andrew had asked one of his personal security officers to dig up dirt on his alleged victim, Virginia Giuffre, even before any formal allegations or photos had been published. Now that this has resurfaced, it complicates matters further. The Metropolitan Police are investigating, and Andrew's bodyguards' notes, correspondence, and diaries could all be scrutinized for evidence that he tried to bury the scandal. For Andrew, things are unraveling fast. From formal investigations to being essentially exiled by his own family, the backlash just keeps mounting. Even UK politicians are starting to call for him to be blacklisted. And when politicians start weighing in on royal affairs, it's a clear sign the situation has gone from bad to disastrous. But just when Ferguson might have thought she could use this controversy to secure a comfortable spotlight or retirement, the narrative flips again. Reports suggest that Sarah Ferguson isn't exactly an innocent bystander. She wasn't reluctantly caught up in royal secrets. She actively accepted bribes, motivated by money. Further reports claim that throughout her marriage to Andrew, Fudge was involved in multiple shady deals and scams with people no member of the royal family should ever associate with. It turns out Sarah Ferguson wasn't just involved in questionable business deals, she also had financial ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Reports suggest that Epstein supported her for years, giving her millions in interest-free loans that she never paid back. One leaked email makes the situation even more shocking. In it, Fudge apologizes to Epstein for speaking out against him in public, saying she only did it to protect her career as a children's book author. She even called distancing herself from him a huge mistake. So now, watching her act like a truth-teller and justice warrior, people are skeptical. Many believe she's not exposing these secrets out of bravery, but out of fear. Either she needs the cash, or she's trying to get ahead of her own involvement before someone else exposes it. And here's the quiet part no one wants to say out loud. If Sarah really speaks, she doesn't just take down Andrew. She risks taking down the Queen, and herself. At the same time right now, Andrew is desperately trying to silence her. Fudge is scrambling to protect herself. And both of their reputations are sinking fast, because if those payments and hush deals were real, then this may just be the beginning. And the next names to fall could be even bigger.